Are the Raiders on upset alert? What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show. It is great to be here with all of you today. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Tony. It is the 17th of December, 12:01 p.m., our original start time as we had got the show started. Got a little more stability today. We got some snow outside, about 7 inches, give or take. That should be about it. So now I pray for the melting so I can return to the links and get back out there. But until then, it's all virtual or the stone cold driving range. But first of all, Gavin, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Zach. Listen, I did not expect it to snow that much. All right. I woke up to a surprise. I knew we were going to get a lot, but I woke up to a surprise. But I'm doing great, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We definitely got a lot to go over today. The Sixers don't play till tomorrow. That's their final preseason game. Lakers played the Suns last night. Watched a little bit of the early one. Not much exciting as you get into these deeper preseason games. James Harden has become a meme over the past 2 days with a picture that is emphasizing some potential weight gain for James Harden, and why I continue to think that he is not the answer in Philadelphia, no matter who will try to convince me. Neither trade options, whether it's your entire franchise or just Ben Simmons and some first-round picks, not worth it. Sorry to report that to those who might think that he'd be a good fit here. I don't think so. I like where we are right now as a team, and the other night should have proved it. Now, with that being said, Gavin, we're going to get started with Thursday Night Football. Of course, last week we did an official pregame show for the Rams and Patriots, but today, regular timing, so we'll be hitting every area in the sports. But yeah, are the Raiders on upset alert? They could be. Yeah, they beat the Chiefs. Yeah, they hung around them the second time. And yeah, they almost lost to the Jets. Should have lost to the Jets if the Jets didn't throw that game on purpose. But the Raiders just gave up 44 points to Philip Rivers and the Colts last week. Fired their defensive coordinator. And now they have a new one. I'm not sure how much experience this guy has. I've yet to read into it too much. Could the players be playing hard this week? I'm not sure. You have Max Crosby. You do have some talent on that defense. Your starting cornerback is hurt, so good luck tonight. If Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are healthy, which they're both game-time decisions, I think the Chargers win tonight. If they're not, I'm not sure. But Justin Herbert has been struggling as of late. He has played pretty well all year, so hopefully he can bounce back to where he should be. Austin Eckler is expected to play. He was also battling an injury, but he should play tonight. And, of course, that defense still has some talent on it. And I think, frankly, tonight, Josh Jacobs, who's still a little banged up, I think they're going to struggle big time tonight. And I think that the Raiders do lose this game and will once again, after a similar way to last year, have potential early and then fall out of the playoffs late.
Well, Zach, we talked about how the Raiders, Zach, they should really be either 500 or below 500. Let's go back. Let's go back to the Chiefs game, right? You lose by 4 points. You stick around with them. We know what Patrick Mahomes can do in a little amount of time. There's no debating that. You go to Atlanta, Zach, I can't say this word I want to say, but they got to hand it to them. All right, they really got handed to by the Falcons of all teams. And then you go to the Jets, Zach, your upset game of the week, and the game I already knew was going to happen. They should have lost. You're right. If you don't call a cover zero and don't blitz everybody and play over top, they're not going to make that catch. Their touchdown doesn't happen. Then you go to last week. You get destroyed by the Colts. The score doesn't look like you got destroyed, but Zach, if you watch the game, it was bad all around. You let up a long touchdown run to Jonathan Taylor. You made Philip Rivers look somewhat good, even though I'm not fond of Philip Rivers. But Zach, there's no Cleveland Farrell tonight, no Abram, and no Arnett either, the corner. That's three players on the defense, three key players on the defense that are not going to be there tonight. So what else you got? Let's go on the offensive side. Derek Carr is not that good, ladies and gentlemen. Derek Carr is underperforming these last 3 to couple of weeks. There's no Henry Ruggs tonight. He's on the COVID list. Josh Jacobs, Zach, you're right. He's banged up. It's the same story for the Raiders every year. Zach, I talked about how last year or earlier in the show, early in the months of the show, I talked about the Raiders weren't really eliminated until week, 16, 17 of last year. This year, they're eliminating themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're not being teams they're supposed to be. Zach, you could beat the Jets, barely. You got destroyed by the Falcons. I was supposed to say a gimme game for you. The Falcons had no business of winning that game. So, Zach, it seems like the same story every year with this team. You go to the end of the season comes, you're 8 wins, and then you self-implode. Why is that?
I mean, I couldn't tell you. I think that they definitely potentially have a quarterback issue. They've given him more talent. Of course, we know Nelson Aguilar has had a pretty good year there. Hunter Renfrow has been kind of irrelevant for them, but they also have Darren Waller, who will be healthy tonight, I believe, and will be playing. And you also had Henry Ruggs a lot of the year, who honestly has not been as good as some people expect him. We give a lot of heat to the Eagles for picking Jalen Reagor, but they had the pick of the litter, Gavin, with wide receivers, and they went with Henry Ruggs, and he's a burner. He's made a few key plays for them, but he's not the disciplined route runner they potentially may have needed. They could have went with his counterpart in Alabama, Jerry Jeudy, or they could have went with CeeDee Lamb, but they chose not to. So I think that front office should get some heat for that pick as of right now. Of course, on the COVID list, that's something you can't control, and you also wish him the best depending on what his situation is. But again, Derek Carr, you have a pretty dang good offensive line. John Gruden's worked to build this team. Got rid of Amari Cooper, got 2 first-round picks for him. They kind of look pretty smart now doing that. Khalil Mack, same story. So they rebuilt. They got Max Crosby. They go out and they get themselves some wide receivers. It's up to Derek Carr, and he's had some really good weeks, but he's also had some really bad weeks. And that defense is terrible. They have a lot of work to do in the offseason. They continue to fall at the end of the
group right there.
They have a lot of just looking back in the mirror and seeing what they can do to fix it. They have Mariota on contract, I believe, till next year as their backup. I don't know if he's going to be the answer. It's definitely not Nathan Peterman. But we'll have to see how it rolls out. Like you said, Gavin, that Falcons game should have been a no-brainer for you. That Jets game should have been a no-brainer for you. Honestly, if Greg Williams was competent, they'd probably drop both those games and they'd be a 500 team right now.
It's like in the last 4 games, the last 4 games, Derek Carr has at least 1 interception in every one of those games. And this past weekend, he had 2. What does that say? Your quarterback is not playing to his best ability. And the reason why they hold Derek Carr to a high standard is, Zach, remember they went 13-3? The year he goes down with that horrible ACL injury that arguably ends his MVP season. They go into what is that? New England and lose. We know Derek Carr can do this. We know Derek Carr can play, but it doesn't look like he can play. Say, he throws for 316 yards this past weekend, right? 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Atlanta, he had a lot of fumbles and a couple interceptions. No touchdown. Zach, Derek Carr is a problem, and that defense, Zach, we know the defense has their issues. That's a young defensive group. They're going to get better. All right? I didn't really expect much from the defensive side of the ball, but damn it, I expect a lot from Derek Carr. He underperformed year in and year out. You were there at the end of the season last year, Zach. What happened? Same thing. What are you doing this year? The same damn thing. There's nothing new with Derek Carr. It's the same story. It's deja vu, to be exact.
It really is, honestly. And so I have the playoff picture pulled up here on the NFL's website. Let's go over what you're currently looking at. First of all, right now, the 7th seed is the Miami Dolphins. They play the Patriots upcoming this week. That really should be a win for them. They play the Patriots, and I think that the Dolphins can win that game. They lost week 1, but they're a much different team now. So the second one is the 8th seed on the bubble, not in it currently. The Baltimore Ravens. They play the Jags this week. They're 8-5. Let's talk about now where the Vegas stands. They're at 9. They're 7-6, and they play the Chargers tonight. If you lose this game, Gavin, you're 7-7. And let's be honest, the Ravens will beat the Jags on Sunday.
Yes.
They'll be 9-5. At that point, there's no way you make the playoffs. If you win tonight, you'll still be only a game behind Baltimore. You'll need them to drop. Not only that, but you need Miami also to drop. It's not in your favor. It's a very competitive year, but at the same time, they're going to finish arguably 8-8, which, I mean, it's better than what they've been. But I can't see them right now being able to make a playoff push with these 3 weeks left.
Zach, we talk about 10 wins being the meta to get in, and you lose here, that leaves you at 9-7 if you even get that point. You might go 8-8, Zach, the way how the Raiders are playing. Baltimore's going to win this week. They're going to move to 9-5. I expect the Dolphins to win this week. I expect them to. Doesn't mean they will, but I expect them to. That'll put them at 9-5. That really puts you on the outside looking in. That really does. A loss tonight puts you really his quicker out. And even if you win tonight and the other teams win, you're still out because you have 6 losses. 10-6 is not the meta no more, Zach. It's you gotta get 11 wins now.
You know, it's getting competitive. I'm just going to pull up here. Let's look at the Dolphins picture because the Dolphins are the pivotal team. If they went out, both Baltimore Both Baltimore and Vegas are no matter what out. And funny enough, this is going to be a big game for them. They play the Patriots. They're in Miami. I'm not going to write it off as a win, but they should win this one. Again, they played the Patriots a lot over the years with Brian Flores. They are 1-2. Again, they lost week 1 in a very low-scoring game. But how about this, Gavin? Saturday, the 26th, day after Christmas, 8:15 p.m. Dolphins at Raiders. Prime time.
That is big.
The Raiders win tonight. Let's say the Raiders win, the Dolphins win, the Ravens win. The Dolphins and the Ravens, same record. The tiebreaker currently belongs to Miami. And then the Raiders are just one game back. If Vegas wins that game against Miami, assuming they win tonight, the Baltimore will go into the 7th spot, and then that will put the Raiders to the 8th spot. Leave them out of the playoffs still. Now, again, they played Buffalo that last week of the season, so Miami has a tough schedule. If they win this weekend, they'll have the Raiders as a must win because they played Buffalo the last week of the season. In Buffalo, usually not going to be the best there. So,
and if you're Baltimore, you just got to keep winning. Pretty the meta for Baltimore is just keep winning. Let these two teams shoot each other out. Obviously, you're not. Unless Josh Allen doesn't play in the last game, which is a possibility.
Possibly.
That's a major possibility. If Josh Allen doesn't play in the last game, and you do lose, let's say hypothetically speaking, let's say the Raiders somehow beat the Dolphins this week or next week. You're looking at all right. Now you're looking at the Raiders, and it's like, well, they have to. The Raiders now need a Baltimore loss, or excuse me, not a Baltimore. They just need a loss.
In Baltimore, I do want to point out, Baltimore plays Jacksonville this week, the Giants next week at home, and then the Bengals. Baltimore is going to win out. I mean, I'll say that, and that'll put them
at 11-5.
At 11-5. Now, what about this, Gavin? The Browns, they're safe right now. They're the 5 seed, but the Browns coming up, they play the Giants, the Jets, and the Steelers. They should win those first 2 games. The Steelers game might be
close. They can win that last game too.
So if they get 2 more wins, let's say they go 2-1 these next few games, they're also 11-5. The Raiders are currently at 7-6. It does not look good for them. And if they lose tonight, honestly, they're all but done.
Zach, there's still a chance for Cleveland to actually get the AFC North.
Possibly. Let's take a look. So let's say that
if the Steelers lose again, which is a major possibility, not this weekend because they got lucky again. There's a possibility they can lose.
Well, if the Browns win out, which let's revisit their schedule, the Giants, Jets, Steelers. And that's, by the way, the Browns-Giants game is Sunday Night Football. Interesting selection for this weekend. That should be a fun one to watch. But so those teams are going to be on prime time this week. But now stay with the Steelers, 11-2 right now. They play the Bengals in Cincinnati on Monday night. That's a win. That puts them at 12. And they play the Colts at home. That could be a loss. And if they lose to the Browns, both teams are 12-4. At that point, the Browns would not win the division because the divisional record, because they lost to both Pittsburgh once and they dropped 2 to Baltimore. However, they can still win the division, but the Steelers need to lose to Cincinnati on Monday night, which is very unlikely. So if the Steelers win Monday night, I'm pretty sure mathematically they've clinched the division. But yes, the fact that Cleveland can still pull it together and win the division is pretty crazy, considering that they've been a basement dweller for a couple of years now.
And if you're the Chiefs about the number 1 seed in the AFC, you just gotta keep winning.
Yeah, they're pretty much all but taken care of for the 1 seed. They just have to win out the rest of their games. So that is the playoff scenario. In a nutshell, the Raiders need to win tonight. And if they lose, they're done.
And if Anthony Lynn wins tonight, what does that say about his job, Zach?
It could be a saver potentially because he has to. In the next few weeks, he has to be able to impress and give them a reason to keep him around.
You need this win. You need it.
And just remember, they're only 2 years. They're only 2 years separated from when they went 12-4. They really should have won their division. They dropped a game that they shouldn't have. They should have won 13-3, and they would have had the tiebreaker over the Chiefs.
It's crazy how defensive injuries can change a lot for the Chargers. You don't have Derwin James that much this year. Joey Bosa was out at the beginning of the year. Defense is kind of underwhelmed secondary wise.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a big difference, but Justin Herbert has looked really good this year. He's one of their bright spots. And we'll have to see how that rolls out. But coming up after this, we are going to break down the Houston Rockets situation. Is James Harden still on the move? What does his trade stock look like after his past behaviors? And is it wrong to compare him to Dennis Rodman as far as what he does off the court? Stay tuned. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes two 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. Welcome back here on the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show, just breaking down the possibilities for the Raiders to not only make the playoffs, but what would happen tonight if they drop a loss, dropping to 7-7.
Zach, the Raiders need gun their knees and start praying. Because
we'll have to do, because if they went out, they're 10-6, and that might not even be enough this year.
Exactly.
All right, so Gavin, let's get to it then. The biggest surprise of it all, James Harden did show up to camp on Monday. He did play in the preseason game on Tuesday. Did not look all that efficient. Again, the Sixers have been favored as a team where he would land. If you looked at Ben Simmons and 3 first-rounders would do it, I've been very adamant about how much not only do I not want James Harden in Philly, but how much I would not be willing to give up that much for him. And there's only 2 scenarios if you're Philly. You give up Ben Simmons and first-round picks, which, again, if you're a championship contender, they don't really matter. But at the same time, the other option would be trading up pretty much your entire team. And honestly, right now, I like Tobias. I like the role players. I like Maxey. I like Thibault, although he's limited offensively right now. I like Shake Milton. I'm not willing to trade all that away.
Zach, this talk about James Harden, it irritates me. Here's why. You have non-Sixers fans telling Sixers fans what they need to do. Zach, what they need to do. Why would you touch something that honestly has a lot of potential? Zach, we talked about how their bench doesn't look as bright if you're the Sixers, but I like what Tyrese Maxey is going to do. I like he's going to be a star here. If you use him right, we have a coach that can use people right. Get the most out of their ability. If you're Paul George, he'll say otherwise, but we don't care about Paul George. You're hitting backboard, so it doesn't matter. James Harden shot, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, was it 3 of 12, right? Field goal?
He was sub 30% in both categories.
Horrible. Zach, he also put on, and I'm not trying to tag James Harden any type of way. He also, he put on a little bit of weight. Not muscle, Zach, other type of weight. James Harden, Zach, we know James Harden, the offensive score. We know James Harden, the step backs and all this crazy stuff in 50-point games. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, that didn't get him anywhere. That didn't. Zach, you went on a scoring tirade for a whole month, right? 50, I think he had, 6 50-point games and like 10 40-point games?
Something along those lines, yep.
Along those lines, yeah. That didn't get him anywhere. Where did it get him, Zach? Did it get him to the finals? Did it get him a great spot in the playoffs? No. That's all fine and dandy. We're talking about winning a championship. And Charles Barkley said it best. His style of play does not win championship. It's very rare it does. Michael Jordan couldn't win a championship by doing it all by himself. He needed others to do it, right? He had Scottie Pippen on the defense end. He had Horace Grant, Steve Kerr hitting the shot. John Paxson, or not Paxson. You get what I'm trying to say.
You had Rodman in the final 3-peat.
Rodman, exactly. He had people to knock down shots and do things for him. Let's go to LeBron James, Zach. You had Anthony Davis. You had Dwayne Wade. You had Kyrie Irving. You had all these guys. You had Jesus Shuttlesworth and Ray Allen. But we've seen James Harden. Oh, and the Warriors too. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. They had guys.
They don't play ISO ball. They don't play ISO ball.
Curry,
by the way, did look really good the other night. I do have to point out. Curry did look pretty good. For those who think Damian Lillard's better than him, you need to just.
Zach, I'll save that for later because trust me, that's getting on my nerves too. But Zach, what makes that Warriors team good? They're talking about how when Kevin Durant was going to join, there's not going to be enough ball movement. Zach, they played team basketball. It didn't matter about who had what. It was whoever had the hot hand and that gets the ball. And even if they had the hot hand, others are still going to be involved. James Harden does not get his teammates involved that much.
Even when he had one of the most perfect point guards for his style on Chris Paul, it couldn't work.
When you have Russell Westbrook, they even got rid of Clint Capella to open up the space of floor so Russell Westbrook could drive, and it didn't work. Zach, this might be the best Rocket team I've seen in a while. You got John Wall. You got people that can space the floor, and DeMarcus Cousins and Christian
You got
Wood.
Daniel House, who's more underrated in my opinion. He has another
Exactly.
year of experience under his belt.
You're starting 5, and you have a brilliant head coach who I'm
Who
fond
has
of.
an abundance of experience playing the game.
Exactly. So, Zach, the fact that you're the problem and you're not being efficient, Zach, the reason why James Harden is not champion is because of his play. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's the truth. His play
Look at the
is not
Lakers
champion.
series. If he couldn't knock down a shot, that team was lost.
Couldn't. He doesn't have that takeover factor. Zach, because this is how James Harden is the player, and he's just like a Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Giannis can score in the paint, they're going to win. But once the paint defense gets a little bit tighter in the playoffs, because everything in the playoffs amps up, you're not going to get anything easy. What happens? Giannis starts to fold, and next thing you know, the Bucks out of the playoffs. The same thing with James Harden. He lives and died by the 3. There was a lot of games he died by the 3. Zach, let's go back to 2 years ago versus Utah. You remember when James Harden shot 1 for 9? 1 for 9 in the first half on threes, and you end up losing the game by a lot? Get the hell out of here. That's not going to win. That's not going to cut it. Go ahead, Zach.
I mean, this is not the style of basketball you need to win. And as much as they've given you, I'll call it what it was. And the Warriors against that Warriors series was a flash in the pan from them. They were able to get a few games. They were the 1 seed, and you're at home for Game 7. They still only lost by, I think, 11, and they lost 94 to 105 in that one without Chris Paul. But James Harden can't do it himself. But you've been given help, and you've been reluctant to use it until that help goes away. Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. Yeah, at one point you were with both Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and you wouldn't take a friendly contract to stay with the team. And that's where the downfall for OKC began. The next year, OKC, after you leave, goes to the NBA Finals. And it took the big 3 from the 2003 draft class to take that team down. But I'll be honest. You refuse to take a friendly contract. They ship you to Houston. You go down there. You work with Pat Bev, Chris Paul.
Dwight Howard.
And these are notable players. Dwight Howard. You've worked with literally everybody. At some point, you got a new coach now. You moved your free.
They had Montrezl Harrell too, Zach. Sorry to cut you off. They had Montrezl Harrell too. Don't forget.
They had a lot of talent. And just similarly with Russell Westbrook, he's had a lot as well. So you take a look at these guys. Russell Westbrook, he's now in Washington having a ball with Bradley Beal, and he's trying to be a team player. As much as I don't love him as being a Sixers fan, you know how much I don't love Russell Westbrook necessarily, but he sure as heck knows how to be a team player when it matters. I will say that. And James Harden does not. James Harden is yet to be. Again, Gavin, we talk about all the time. We don't know these guys personally. We can't sit here and make speculation for them.
I don't want to see what I see on the court.
But what I see on the court is a lack of involvement in teammates, a lack of growth and development in each other. And no matter what combination they try of point guards and centers and whatever, it hasn't worked. But the ball's in his court. The Rockets are willing to see through that by paying him and letting him call the shots. And now you have DeMarcus Cousins, who's coming off of an injury, who I'm sure is pretty hungry to go out and win. And another guy in John Wall, who looks great so far in the preseason, coming off of an injury. Go out there and play. You have a lot of power in this situation. Most front offices are so stupid to do this.
And Zach, if I may say, he had Trevor Ariza. Let me just name the people he had. And Zach, correct me if I'm wrong at any point. You had Trevor Ariza. You had Montrezl Harrell. You had Lou Will. You had Pat Bev. You had Chris Paul. You had Russell Westbrook. You had Dwight Howard. Zach, what do majority of those guys have in common? Dwight Howard went to the finals. He was arguably one of the best centers in the league.
And almost all of them have either won something or have been part of winning teams, except for James Harden.
And then hold on, Zach. And then Montrezl Harrell just won 6th Man of the Year. Lou Will, technically that award is made for him.
Pat Bev is an all-first team defensive.
Exactly. And you couldn't make it work. And Trevor Ariza, don't forget about Trevor Ariza. And it's like, if they don't win and the Rockets don't do anything this year, before John Wall went out, in 2018, he averaged 20.7 on 44% shooting, 8.7 assists. John Wall is no slouch, ladies and gentlemen. And if you put the ball in John Wall, I'm telling you, if you want to win a championship, James Harden, the ball has to be out of your hands. It has to be. If you're gonna force John Wall to shoot, you're not gonna win. John Wall's not the best 3-point shooter, Zach. He gets the job done. But The problem is, Zach, is James Harden won't let the ball come out of his hands. Hell, Zach, you even had Carmelo Anthony at one point. You had Carmelo Anthony for a little bit.
He's had a lot. I do want to just point out here, Gavin, I don't mean to interrupt, but Chris Paul, first year without James Harden, led the league in clutch buckets. I just want to point that out as well. He raised that team a lot, and he's no slouch either. If you asked me before, who do you think the best fit would be for James Harden, I'd say Chris Paul. A pass-first guy who can knock down mid-rangers, and it didn't work. And again, they had off-court issues that have been reported as well.
And DeMarcus Cousins' last healthy season, Zach, he averaged 25 and 12. And then when he was in Golden State for the little bit 30 games he played, he averaged 16 on 40% shooting.
Yeah,
there's no damn excuses for James Harden this year.
You can get him averaging 18 to 20 points a game, DeMarcus Cousins, that is, and getting your rebound.
John Wall can
get you 20, and James Harden can get you 27 to 35. You got to find a way to balance it. You have a coach who's going to try to work with you and help you out. Don't be reluctant to it. I don't understand. I don't know what he's been doing in Vegas, and that's kind of the next thing I want to bring to you. He said he was out there training. Looks like he was maybe training at the buffets, but all jokes aside, Gavin, they compared him to Dennis Rodman off the court, referring to the partying, referring to things like that. I said before, I think that, obviously Rodman has 5 rings, Harden has none. But what are some of your thoughts on those comparisons that have been made, mostly by fans, but some notable names have chimed in on that as well?
Really? Really? Is that what we're doing? We're comparing James Harden to Dennis Rodman off the court? Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Rodman was a whole nother person off the court. He goes, and anyone from the 90s, please chip in. I'm all for this because I love Dennis Rodman, Zach. He tells Michael Jordan, I need a break. He goes to Vegas, Zach. And then guess what? You don't hear from him. You don't hear from him. Then he goes missing in Detroit, found in his car with a gun. Lord knows what was going to go down there. Oh, and Zach, by the way, you remember he went, and I forgot, was it during the playoffs or something? He went to a WWE show and went to be in the WWE.
It was during the finals, in between games in the finals, if I'm corrected.
In between, yes. And then, Zach, also, too, we talked about Dennis Rodman brought a lot of attention to himself with his apparel, his appearance, and his dating life. Zach, there are no comparisons. But the one thing about Dennis Rodman that I will say is he had rings to back it up. Dennis Rodman would go down
and did his job on the court.
Dennis Rodman is the best rebounder of all time. I don't care what anybody says. And Devin, Zach, I'm gonna throw this out here too. Best defender of all time too. One of the best. One of the best.
Part of it. If he really just committed to the game and tried harder, I don't know what it would look like. I mean, for those who don't know the backstory, I recommend watching The Last Dance. But Rodman was dealing with some emotional issues when he kind of was that straight shooter. So, I mean, that's kind of why he started acting out. I think he definitely could have been enabled during his career when he was one of the more talented players doing his job. And he was so good that Michael Jordan, according to Gavin, greatest player of all time, he was out in Vegas looking for him. And, I mean –
yeah, you have Michael Jordan come knock on your door.
If you got Michael Jordan going to look for you, you're pretty damn important to him. So
you had no one from the Rockets.
Side to side with Harden, saying it's a little extreme. But on the court, I mean, Rodman's definitely got the more respect.
Listen, Dennis Rodman. Zach, if Dennis Rodman would have guarded me, I'm not getting anything. I'll tell you right now. Listen, he scared the hell out of you. But Zach, and you talk about what James Harden did. This comment right here doesn't help us out of Houston, where there's multiple videos of and pictures of him partying with everybody in the rap game. That's true.
I mean, you can do that, but you're stirring up the pot. Now you're just lying to the media, and you're doing all these different things. You can just pull Kyrie.
I want you
talking to the media. I don't care. But the bottom line is, I find it unlikely anybody wants you right now. We talked about this a few weeks ago, Gavin, when you refused to show up to training camp. This doesn't look good for you if you want to go to another team.
If this was Mike D'Antoni, right, the coach that you had, this is Mike D'Antoni, right? And if you didn't come to training camp, I would say a different tune. You worked with a system already. You guys been through it already. I understand that. Steven Silas didn't get a chance to shake your hand yet. He didn't get a chance to shake your hand yet.
He talked to him. I mean, he had talked to him prior to showing up at training camp. He said all morning they're talking to each other through the media, and it's embarrassing for Harden. It's disrespectful. I mean, it's grounds for decency, right? I mean, the common sense of what you do. You got a new coach, new system, new teammates, and you're supposed to be the leader of this team. You're the highest paid guy on the team. and this is what you're doing. I think it's shameful for James Harden. I'm not sure what he's trying to get here. He has a lot of leverage with Houston. Houston's trying to move him actively, but we'll see how it rolls out. Now there's a lot of drama going unnecessarily, in my opinion.
Zach, it doesn't help that one. I'm gonna say you don't look in shape either. You look out of shape. Look out of shape. Zach. We talk about how Joel Embiid's out of shape. I never see it, but I see it after a while if you watch him play. James Harden looks out of shape. He didn't look efficient the other night either. So anyone that thinks that James Harden's going to be answering in Philly after the stuff we just said, check yourself, man. Come on now.
Yeah, there's no reason to get him. I don't see. I'd rather have Ben Simmons, Danny Green, Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid than put James Harden in there. I don't know how you're going to move. You have too many guards at that point, and that's kind of crazy to think about. You need that kind of Ben Simmons player. He's so unique to the game. I will always stand by and defend Ben Simmons. You got to realize what this guy does for this team. You just have to. People call him lazy. You can call him whatever. I have my own opinions on Ben Simmons when it comes to some of those aspects because, look, when you're the best player growing up and you don't have a jump shot, no one's going to sit there with you and say, shoot the ball. But now he's starting to, at least off the court from what we hear. We have a new coaching staff here. Ben Simmons, pound for pound, could be the best defender in the league. Name anyone else who has the speed that he has that can defend 1 through 5. I don't think you can. Even your best defensive bigs aren't able to keep up with fast point guards. But Ben can. He goes against Steph Curry. He can go against Giannis. I mean, I don't know if he'll win the fight with Giannis, but he really should be in the conversation for defensive.
That's Joel Embiid's fight.
To be able to switch on him the way that those two are able to is pretty impressive. If you take one of those guys off your team, you'll notice a difference really quick. Maybe not right now. You won't notice it. But the ability to keep Jason Tatum at bay every time you play Boston, the ability to keep some of these superstars at bay and force them to kick the ball out is something you might not notice at the moment. But once you remove him from the process, you'll notice it, and we noticed it real quick in the playoffs. So don't move Ben Simmons. I'm sorry. You can't. You have shooters. You have Seth Curry. You have Danny Green. And Danny Green, by the way, defensive is really great. I know we pointed out yesterday. But don't unnecessarily rile up anything. Give Doc Rivers a chance. Give these guys a chance to all blend together. They looked great in their first game.
Zach, Ben Simmons, right, is a 6'10" version of Rajon Rondo. Rondo didn't have a jump shot when he first came into the league, Zach, but what did Doc Rivers do? First of all, he has shooters around him and great talent around him. Ben Simmons has shooters around him now. He has a great center, right? He has the same coach. Ben Simmons is a 6'10" version of Rajon Rondo with even better defense. That's the truth. That's the facts. I'll put it out there just like that. And if anyone thinks that trading Ben Simmons at the age of 24 is going to be the answer for a guy that looks a little bit out of shape and has an off-field or off-the-court problem right now, are you guys serious? Are you guys serious? Anyone that wants to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden right now, if anyone does,
and 3 first-round picks.
And 3 first-round picks, possibly ruining for what, a 2-year window? A guy that doesn't get anybody else involved?
7 years. He's 7 years older than Ben. I mean,
a guy that played with multiple All-Stars. A guy that played with multiple All-Stars and guys that had a lot of great criteria to the name. Lou Will was 6th man of the year a couple times already. You got Montrezl Harrell, who's now 6th man of the year. He wasn't no slouch there. You had Dwight Howard. We know what Dwight Howard brought to the table there. Zach, the excuses for James Harden ran out.
I trust Daryl Morey. I don't think he'll fall for it. If they can find a way to move a lot of other assets that don't hurt the team, then they would do it. But this franchise is very much committed right now to seeing what Ben and Joel can do together, at least this year. So I have confidence that they'll make the right decision. I don't want James Harden here, at least right now. There's no reason for it. I wouldn't trade Ben for anyone right now except for maybe Lillard or Curry, honestly.
Well, first of all, you know me, I'm a Steph Curry guy, and I'll trade him for Curry. And anyone keeps saying that Damian Lillard is better than Steph Curry. Where do you see it? How? Listen, Zach, the disrespect, the blasphemy that's coming out of a lot of Curry.
You didn't watch Steph in a year, so they'll remember real quick, in my opinion.
But I don't disagree with you on that. But put on a highlight tape of Steph Curry, and then this brother's pulling from 50 consistently and 30 consistently and makes it. And Damian Lillard does it, what, once or twice a year? And come on. Stop. The hell out of here.
That's a conversation that I definitely would agree with you on. But we'll bring some people on and disagree, maybe make it interesting. But I do think that Curry's absence last year will be remembered.
Curry might win MVP, Zach. He could win MVP.
Possibly. He's still not as old as people might think. He's still got some time in front of him. He has an opportunity to lead the team this year. No Kevin Durant to share, but
And James Wiseman.
He won the finals in 2015. He was kind of the lead guy on that team, and he's back at it this year. So we'll see.
Sure don't know how the hell Andre Iguodala won MVP.
He had a pretty good year there. He had a pretty
He
good year.
did. I'm just saying, but I remember that finals. I just don't remember how he won.
I remember the finals after that year, though. The next year,
I know you. All right, LeBron guy. Listen.
I do
Stop
remember the
living
two
in the
after that, though. So don't get too mad at me.
Okay. I'm just making sure you remember the real thing. Kevin Durant, that same shot every year.
Just had that. I mean, we'll get to watch them in Brooklyn as well. But again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today.
Christmas Day is going to be something special.
Tomorrow we'll be recapping, of course, the Raiders and the Chargers game, going over the games for the weekend, including on Saturday, and of course our thoughts on the Eagles going to Arizona. Can the Eagles win this game, and what will Jalen Hurts need to do for them to secure a victory? Thank you again, everybody, and have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody. Stop with the disrespect of Curry, man. He's inspirational. Come on now.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our